Elvis, the icon, the superstar, a man who marked a whole generation. Even today, his light still shines bright, but with every light comes a shadow. That shadow was Colonel Parker. And no, in this video we are not going to talk about how much of an evil man he was. That will be for another episode. Maybe. Instead, we are going to look at some of the principles he used in order to sell his vision to the world and how he used those principles to control Elvis. This video is mainly going to be based on the movie Elvis that came out this year. Observation. In the movie, we can see that the colonel spends a lot of time observing Elvis from a distance, almost like a predator stalking his prey. During this time of observation, he gets a broad understanding of who Elvis was. That must be the reason why he refers to Elvis as
my boy. Lost my boy? Oh, my boy.
My boy. The colonel knew that at heart, Elvis was just a little boy with his head in the stars, a boy who read comic books and wanted to be just like the heroes in those books. He realized that Elvis was a family man, and even the fact that Elvis' father was not as strong of a father figure. This information allowed him to have a grasp on what made Elvis tick. In order to convince anyone to do anything, you need to paint the picture from their perspective. In that way, they will end up convincing themselves that this is the right course of action. In that instance, all you need to do is position yourself as someone that has their best interests at heart. Like it's you and them against the world. They will see you as their best friend and even thank you for providing them with such an opportunity. Oh yeah, here's something else to be thankful for. You ever wanted to open a business account for your little business, but the fees were too high and the process took too long? Don't sweat it. With Tide, setting up your business account only takes 5 minutes. All you need to do is upload a selfie and a picture of your passport or ID. Now, with my code, you can get 1 year of subscription without any fees. You get access to free accounting and 24 hours live chat. And on top of that, after you deposit £500, you will get £50 extra. So yeah, don't worry, you can thank me later. The link will be somewhere on the screen or down in the description. The 3 F's. The 3 F's is something that I learned when I was working in sales. It stands for feel, felt, and found. This principle is used whenever one is faced with an objection. In the movie, the colonel used just that in order to keep Elvis in his camp when Elvis wanted to part ways with him, due to the fact that Colonel was not letting him perform overseas and missing out on a lot of money. F number 1, fail.
As far as business is concerned, I think we need to go our separate ways.
Well, you may be right. Maybe it is time for me to retire.
Oh, come on, Colonel.
The colonel related to Elvis' concerns by acknowledging that Elvis was probably right, that maybe it will be better to part ways. But then he used the second F, felt.
These international tours are very, very expensive, and the costs cut into the artist's profits.
He agrees with the idea of the international tour, but then mentions the fact that those tours are very expensive and will deeply cut into profit margin, and how that would worry Elvis's father. Now that this issue was raised, all the colonel had to do was to use the third F, found. He offered a solution to this problem.
And what if the next Elvis Presley show did not cost you a red cent? The brand new International Hotel.
One of the things I learned in sales is that there are common objections that people have. If we learn those objections, we can learn things to say to overturn them. Those overturns are just like bullets, and Colonel Parker had loads of them. When Elvis was anxious to leave his old record label, Colonel Parker was ready with the overturns.
What about Hank Snow?
Hank, yes. He sent me here to fire you. Hank wants you off the tour. So I will have to leave Hank. We will both have to make sacrifices.
Sam Phillips discovered me.
I know. But we have a way to help Sam understand that it would be foolish of him to...
When Elvis' mother didn't want to sign the contract, Colonel was ready with the overturns.
Mrs. Presley, your son has a unique gift. It's as though he has the strength of two men inside of him.
Mama, it's gonna turn out so good. Girl.
No matter what it is that you're selling, you need to get familiar with the common objections that people tend to have. One more thing that is very important is the Colonel never just dismissed objections. He always acknowledged them first. Then he will proceed to overturn. Selling the hate.
I hate Elvis.
Yes, I hate Elvis. In my way of thinking, I love Elvis. That's an easy sell. Those who hate your son will do so whether we profit from it or not. After all, what is hate worth if it's free?
One of the most bizarre principles that I learned in sales and I saw Colonel Tom Parker apply was selling the hate. By selling the hate, I mean going on the customer side or the prospect side and actually agreeing with the fact that they hate the product and positioning yourself in a way that makes it look like you also hate the product. Now, you might be thinking, if we both hate the product, how the hell in the world is it going to sell? Well, there's two ways, but in both ways, the customer feels like they one up in whatever it is that they hate. For instance, I used to sell broadband for company X. Now, let's say one of the prospect hated product X. I'll be like, look, I hate product X too. But at the end of the day, all of these people are the same. All these broadband providers are the same. But here it is. You gotta take advantage of all of these broadband providers. Because at the end of the day, they don't love you. They don't care about none of us. And right now, there's this special promotion that your current provider is not giving you. So I say you take advantage of that, because eventually your current provider of internet will also increase the price. Now, the way Colonel did it was different, but in both ways, you gotta put yourself on the hate bandwagon alongside the prospect or the person you're trying to convince.
The snowman strikes again.
Again, I feel like the reason why Colonel Tom Parker, which isn't even his real name by the way, was so good at persuading people is because he understood most people to their core, knew how to make them feel safe, like he had their best interests at heart. And even when Elvis realized that the Colonel was not exactly the definition of a good guy, he was so entangled in Elvis's life that he had trapped the superstar. He knew all of his weaknesses. He knew that at that point, Elvis couldn't leave him. This kind of men should not be taken as role model. However, I am a strong believer in the fact that knowledge can be extracted from anywhere, even if it's from the darkest places. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share.